I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, Shannon Sagan is a top personal injury attorney based in the Sunshine State, Florida. 1-800-FLA Lawyer is his firm. He's also the dash cam lawyer because he's on a mission to get you to put a dash cam in your car. It's that important. Shannon, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. In this digital age where technology means you can have a camera anywhere, it's a great idea to put a dash cam in your car, right?
I mean, the police have body cams, businesses and homes have the ring type cams, and it only makes sense to put them in your car, which can be a very dangerous object, especially when you're talking about an accident.
Absolutely. Reagan used to say, pray for peace, but prepare for war. So you don't want to get into a car accident, but they are called accidents. We never know when they're going to happen. So it's a great idea to be prepared and have some evidence in the event that somebody else is at fault.
Absolutely. I mean, I have been an attorney for over 17 years now, and dash cams have been around for a little while. But in the last year and a half, 2 years, I haven't seen the amount of, I guess I'd say, lying that is going on, where you have a typical, say, rear end type accident, or someone runs a red light and my client comes to me and tells me that they weren't at fault. The cop put the other party at fault. And then lo and behold, when we open up a claim, the insurance company on the other side is saying that my client either did something wrong or they're partially at fault, so they're not going to take the 100% blame. Just signed up a good friend of mine 2 days ago, actually, who was in a multi-car accident, rear-ended, and he hydroplaned, and he's being accused of causing the accident. He said he had a dash cam, but he didn't install it. I mean, it's very basic. At this point, I'm seeing way too many problems in the personal injury field, where people have incentives to try to get out of being at fault for an accident because it's going to raise their premium, or they could get cut, their insurance cut, or they could get sued. And when you don't have a dash cam, it's he said, she said. And you can take this thing all the way to a jury. And if a jury just does not know who's at fault, someone's either going to get majority of the blame or they're just going to split it down the middle 50-50. And it's not fair to the person who did not do anything wrong. So in my opinion, the dash cams are just a very simple way to avoid a lot of this mess.
And dash cam video is permissible in courts of law?
Yes, there's certain evidentiary rules. You can't tamper with the video. You can't edit it. There's just things where you got to keep it in the exact you have to keep it how it was when you downloaded it and how it recorded. So as long as you don't tamper with it, then most judges should not have a problem with admitting it in court.
Gotcha. Now, let's say you don't have a dash cam, but you do get into an accident. Is it a good idea to get out and take pictures? Is it a good idea to get out and use video? Is it a good idea to do both? Tell me about that.
So what I tell people, if you're in a situation where you don't have a dash cam, when you're at the scene, there's a few things that you could do to make your case as strong as possible and ensure that the accident is not your fault or you're not going to get blamed. One is immediately look around to see if there's any independent witnesses that come out of other cars that are willing to help. Sometimes people are willing to help, but a lot of those people, they will just do the basics, see if you're okay. And then when the police come, they leave. You want to make sure you get those people's contact information, especially if you know they're going to be on your side. You want to take pictures and videos of the crash scene, skid marks, damage to the cars. Basically, you want to document as much evidence as you can if you don't have the very simple camera of a dash cam that could have recorded the whole thing.
Now, do dash cams record both at the front and the back? Tell me a little bit about choosing a good dash cam and how they work.
So there's different types of dash cameras. In my wife's car, she has a dash camera that goes along her rear view mirror. That dash cam actually has a camera in the back. So at all times, it's recording everything that's in the front, up to about a 180 view, and then everything in the back all at the same time. So you can have those types of cameras. The only downside to them is if you're not very savvy installation wise, and I'm not, you've got to have that professionally installed because you've got to run lines in the camera and sometimes drill holes into the back of the car. The majority and the most popular types of dash cams are the ones that just shoot from the front. And I still encourage those, even if the accident happens behind you. If you're stopped at a red light and the dash cam shooting forward and you get rear-ended, it's clearly going to show you did nothing wrong. And I have scenarios like this where it seems like it's a simple rear end accident and then it turns into a really big mess with the insurance on the other side. So you've got those two types of dash cams. And then I'm seeing now with Uber drivers and delivery service people who are carrying people in their cars, their dash cams are also shooting passengers as well. And so they'll get videos of passengers just to protect themselves. So in essence, from what I've seen, you've got about 3 different types of dash cams.
Amazing, amazing. And some need to be professionally installed, some you can install yourself. Obviously, get the best you can afford because you never know what's going to happen out there. It is the Wild West out on our roadways, that's for sure. Are there potential downsides to having a dash cam?
It's funny, I was talking about that with someone today. The only downside that I can think of and that I've thought of for a while now, because I've had dash cams, is if you're at fault, you've got to accept responsibility. But I mean, isn't that how most of us were raised, to accept the responsibilities if we do something wrong? So yeah, if you cause the accident and you've got a dash cam and someone notices it, then you're on notice to keep that video and preserve it in the event there's a potential legal case. I've heard people mention, well, there's GPS and it could follow me or track me, and you can turn some of those off. What about audio? You can turn the audio off as well if you don't want anyone hearing what you're saying inside the car. And that's what I have, is my audio off. But other than that's the biggest downside, is if you're the one that caused the accident, then you're on the hook. And again, you should be taking the responsibility for that anyway.
Absolutely. Are there any savings perhaps when it comes to insurance if you have a dash cam?
I don't know if insurance companies offer actual dash cam savings, but I do know, let's say you're being blamed for an accident and you can prove that you did not cause it. Well, you're going to save yourself potential points from getting a ticket from the police officer. You're going to save yourself from a potential higher premium on your insurance, because then you're be proven you're not at fault, or potentially being dropped from your carrier. Those are basically the biggest ones.
Do you see the dash cam video that you have in your own car as potentially a defense against DUI?
Against DUI?
Somebody's picked up accused of driving while under the influence. They've got a dash cam in their car. They might be able to prove that, hey, I was driving properly. I did not change my lane. Here's video of me inside the car, my appearance, my behavior. You might actually have some compelling evidence that's generated by this dash cam, I think, right?
So if you've got one of the cameras that I mentioned where it records inside, it'll certainly capture you and your driving habits and what you're doing, and notice your facial expressions. It's certainly going to capture whether you're weaving in and out of lanes and how you're driving. So yes, if there's an instance where you're pulled over for DUI or suspected for a DUI, the dash cam could be used to show that just prior to that, you were driving normally. There was no signs of why you should have even been pulled over, for that matter. It certainly could be used to help you. And again, it vice versa. If it's showing something that could be questionable, that's going to be used against you.
Absolutely. I was looking at your website, 1-800-FLA-lawyer.com, and you've got quite a compelling story on there, and it's about yourself. Back in 97, you were involved in a serious accident, right?
So I unfortunately was involved in a rollover car accident. It's kind of why I got into this field, why I became a lawyer. I had to sit down at the conference room table of the attorney's office that I hired and figure out how all this works. Who's paying my $70,000 in medical bills? Where am I going to find doctors? How is all this going to be covered? How am I going to fix my hand? At the time, the doctors wanted to cut one of my fingers off, and I was also in intensive care for a head injury. So I had to take off a lot of time from school, and had to do about 4 months of specific hand therapy after I got out of the hospital. And that was a very overwhelming, very stressful experience because I had no idea how this worked and what was going to happen and what was going to come of it. Hired an attorney, happened to be a family friend of mine. He was able to guide me through the entire process. We had a very good outcome, and it just kind of changed my outlook on life, what I wanted to do. And it's the reason why I got into personal injury.
Well, we're glad you did, because a lot of people out there suffer experiences like you went through, and even worse. So it's good to have an advocate on their side. Final question. If you are involved in a car accident, take pictures and video, as many as you said. Hopefully you've already got that dash cam installed. What about statements to the police? Is it a good idea to give the police a statement while you're there on the scene, or should you exercise your right to remain silent and wait until you've spoken to an attorney such as yourself?
So when you're talking about accidents and criminal, it's a little bit different. When you're arrested for a crime, you're encouraged, and I'm not a criminal lawyer, but you're encouraged to not say anything and wait till you talk to a lawyer. As far as car accidents are concerned, the majority of the time, the evidentiary rules are that whatever is spoken to the police officers is not admissible in court. So I get a lot of people that say, well, the officer gave the other person the ticket. He told me that they're at fault. I heard them tell the officer that they're at fault. All these things the officer puts on there, the ticket, the conversations had with both parties. Ultimately, if the case goes to court, that report is gone, and what was said to the police officer is not admissible.
Amazing, amazing. I actually got rear-ended myself. The guy who rear-ended me had about 20 empty cans of beer in the car. And I said to the officer, do you think he might be under the influence? No. So you got to protect yourself there. You never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely. I love police officers. I support them wholly. I do find that handling accidents is not really their favorite thing. So you've got to be a little bit aggressive with them, make sure they're documenting the right things, and you make sure you get that dash cam video to them if you have it, or witnesses if you have them. One more thing I wanted to point out is two more things. We're in Florida. You're not required to have bodily injury coverage. So that means if someone who hits you, hurts you or your family, they don't have to have bodily injury coverage. So I most of my videos lately have been about, before dash cams, have been about getting uninsured motorist coverage to protect yourself. It's really important to have. Uninsured motorists. People don't like talking about insurance coverages. They don't because they don't understand it. But uninsured motorists is a big deal in Florida. You need to get it because I'd say about half Floridians are not driving with bodily injury coverage, unfortunately.
Amazing. Well, that's a great tip. So that's a good takeaway from this, as well, of course, to get a dash cam in your car, so you've got some evidence in the event that you are hurt or injured, or your car is destroyed in an accident. We've been talking to Shannon Sagan, 1-800-FLA-lawyer.com. He is the dash cam lawyer. He's on a mission to make sure you equip your car, your vehicle, with a dash cam. Shannon, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you as well. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.